Virgil Ortiz is in here now with his dad. Looks big, man. Not like overweight at all, but just looks like solid. And I feel like, 47 was, obviously that was a few fights ago, but I feel like 54 is, he might even be going to 60 soon, I feel like. But he's super solid at 54. Just what's Virgil been like going so far?
Well, look, I think he will go to 60 sooner than later. We have a few fights left at 154. There's big fights out there, at 154 that Virgil really wants, and we really want for Virgil, especially when fighting at a division that's stacked with so much talent. We can't just leave the division behind and go look for a higher division when there's so many. There's a couple big fights there that mean a lot for boxing and for Virgil himself. So, we got a couple fights left at 154. I think Virgil, like you said, he's a big kid. He's big. He's in shape. He's not big when not fat big. But,
like McDonald's.
Exactly.
Right.
He's in shape. He's solid. But yeah, 154 is still the division where he wants to get those big fights for him.
Obviously Boots got a KO in one round. It almost seemed like he got caught with that left hand. It kind of pissed him off a little bit, and then he kind of went after Lima and finished the fight. Obviously not a whole lot to see, right? It was only one round. But what did you see, just kind of him filling into 54?
Look, Boots is a solid fighter. He's very talented. He is one of the best in the world, pound for pound. I think talent-wise, he's very talented. He looked great against the opponent that he should have. He did what he had to do, which we can't question that. He did what he had to do. Obviously, he's got a promoter. Eddie Hearn is doing his job, promoting him and talking. What he's saying. He's the best in the division, the best in the world, the best he's ever worked with. But there is fights out there that are gonna test him. One is obviously Virgil Ortiz. Virgil is asking for the fight, is wanting that fight. Hopefully it happens next. Virgil's fighting in 4 weeks. Boots just fought this weekend, so it's perfect timing. There's no other fight. There's no other name that we could say is gonna be meant at a perfect moment. We were hoping Fundora also, fighting at the end of this month, but he got an injury now, so we don't know how long it'll take before they reschedule the fight. I heard it might be till January, maybe even February. So if that happens, then I don't think we're just going to be waiting until Fundora fights, beats Thurman, so we could get the chance. We're talking about maybe summer of next year. I think the fight that makes the more sense is Boots Ennis. Boots just fought. We're going to fight in 4 weeks. Hopefully Boots comes to Dallas and they start building up the fight because believe me, I think between each other, Boots and Virgil, that's the biggest fight at 154. It doesn't matter if Fundora has the WBC belt. It doesn't matter if the WBA, the WBO. It doesn't matter what the other belts, the other champions are doing. I think Boots and Virgil is the biggest fight at 154.
I was going to say, they don't have belts, right? But like you said, Fundora's out for who knows how long, and obviously the Thurman's kind of next in line for him. Bakram, the IBF, the 10-pound limit is kind of an issue, I'm sure, for a lot of guys, probably even for Bakram, to be honest. Who's Xander seems to want to fight in Puerto Rico. He doesn't seem, too eager to take that next. I don't know if Top Rank really is super eager to take. So it feels like Boots is like the fight to have at 54.
It is. That's the biggest fight at 154. You just mentioned all the champions and the IBF. I was told last month in Vegas, I was asked, why won't you guys take a fight against Bakram? And I clearly told him, because Virgil has had his health issues in the past, and everybody knows it's not like we're hiding it. So he can't do that 10-pound the next day. Virgil is impossible. If we try to do it, we're forcing him. We could actually hurt him. So we can't. So that's out of the way, unless it was a unification. But they don't allow the interim WBC to unify. They don't allow it. So it would have to be a unification. Sanders Ayas, it's only 22. So I'm not mad or blaming them. But Sandor Saya still has a lot to develop. And Top Rank, Peter Khan, they know their business. They know that a young kid like that, they would make a big mistake if they put him in against the top guys. You know, Virgil's one of them, Boots Ennis, Fundora. I think they know their job. They know their job and develop him a little more. Plus in Puerto Rico, make him a superstar. That's what I would do. You know what I mean? And I don't care what everybody else could say. I would take care of my fighter because he's only 22. Became champion. He's the youngest champion right now. Protect him and let him build up to one day. Yeah, get all those. I'm not saying they don't want to fight the big names. Sandor will fight anybody. Also, he's a fighter. Yeah. But his team is doing the right thing. Something that I would do too. So, if there's no champions, we just said Fundora just got injured. We don't know how long it's going to take for him to fight again, and he's going to fight Thurman. So.
Maybe Charlo after that too.
Exactly. There's already exactly. They're all PBC. So what do? We go out for the biggest fight out there. It is Boots.
It is. I agree, and I think it's like I was talking to Virgil's dad, and it's maybe the biggest fight in boxing. Without a belt, and just period.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't have to have a belt. They could fight for either one's interim title, and it's a huge fight. They don't need. They don't need a belt, especially with what's going on with boxing. That they don't want to bring the belts around. Well, this is a perfect fight that doesn't have any belts, and it's still going to be the biggest fight in boxing with no belts. Right. So, can we say that could go take that direction where people are not waiting? Oh, they're not champions, so we're not interested in the fight. No, they're interested in the fight because it's going to be a badass fight. So we don't need to fight. We don't need to defend. We don't need to fight for no belts. Because the fight's there. Right. It's a huge fight.
Just real quick, I haven't talked to you yet about it, but Terence Crawford had a dominant, kind of performance against Canelo. I believe you were. I don't remember exactly what you thought about it, but I thought you thought maybe he was a little too small, like a lot of people did, like myself included. But he looked phenomenal, man. Just what was your take as the fight was happening? Were you kind of seeing like, oh shoot, he's going to be able to do?
Look. Everybody thought the same, where he's too small for that division. But I always said, can he beat him? Yes. Me, Mikey, and my son Pita, we always picked him to pull off a decision. I always said, I still won't put money in it because Canelo's just the bigger man. Right. But did we believe he could do it? Yes. And a couple hours before the fight started, we did a show that we do for boxing scene, and my final prediction was Crawford by decision. I had a talk the Thursday before. I had a talk in Vegas with Bomac and with SI, the other assistant. Saul, yeah. And they were very confident. I talked with them and I talked with Bomac, and they were confident. They made me believe in it, and I said, no, you know what? Crawford's going to pull off the decision. After the first round. That's all people needed to see. The first round to say, God damn, if he does this for 12, he's going to make it an easy fight. And he did. Obviously it's a 12-round fight, so there's times where the weight might affect you and towards the late rounds, you could see a lot of fighters tire out, too much weight for them, and they get tired and they start taking punishment. But this wasn't the case with Crawford, man. I think Crawford fought a fucking perfect fight, and since the first round, if it goes like that, he's got no problem winning that fight. Definitely.
Incredible. It was an incredible performance. Just last couple, I just want to get your opinion on it, just because I haven't really talked to a whole lot of people, but Jake Paul is facing Gervonta Davis in an exhibition. I don't know if a knockout's even allowed or whatever, because it is an exhibition. Maybe you know more than me if a knockout is even allowed in something like that, or do they stop the contest before something like that? But I don't know. What's your just take on the whole thing?
I'm not very interested. That doesn't excite me. I know it's going to do really good numbers. I know they're making a lot of money, which is good for them, good for Tank, because in boxing, that's what everybody looks for. I think it's, the good thing is they announced it as an exhibition, which is, I'm okay with it. Everybody does it. Mayweather has done it. Ali did it. The only thing, my personal opinion is Tank, they all did it when when they had already accomplished so much, they already did so much. Mayweather did everything in boxing and accomplished everything. Muhammad Ali did the same, and many others that have done it. I think Tank never gave us the fights that we really wanted. Never really gave us those challenges. He never really challenged himself. He didn't give Roach that rematch, which he should have. You know, Mayweather did it when he had a hard time with Maidana and Castillo. Right away, he did the rematches to prove everybody wrong, and look at what he did. He beat him clearly. So Tank should have done the same. He didn't. That I could criticize, but then at the end also, if you're making 30 to 50 million, I don't even know what he's making to fight, to have an exhibition against just Jake Paul, I would have asked. I would do the same.
No one would say no to that. Right?
If I had one of my fighters get an offer to fight a big celebrity, a big YouTuber for $20-30 million, I would probably do the same. So I don't blame him. You know, it's boxing. At the end of his career, 20 years from now, nobody's gonna care of how many belts he won or who he fought. The only thing that matters is that he's gonna be able to take care of his family, himself, for the rest of his life, and that's the most important thing. So I don't disagree with what he's doing. Do I like it? No, but I don't disagree.
Fight's not made yet, but it seems like it's gonna happen. Shakur versus Teofimo. That's a good fight. It's a very, very good fight. Guys at the top of their game, right? Kind of guys that, like you were saying, maybe fights we would have loved Tank to fight these guys, right? But they're fighting each other. Credit to them. Man, that's a very chess matchy type fight. Right?
It is. It's gonna be a great fight when it does happen, especially if Teofimo comes in at his best, because we've seen some great performances, but then we've also had those questions about Teofimo's mind, mentality in boxing, his future. So hopefully we get the best Teofimo, the Teofimo that wants to be the best in the world, because we know Shakur is one of those. Shakur always comes in as best. He wants it so bad. So that's just gonna makes it to be a great fight. I can't wait for that one.
Can you link? Because it's real, like...
Me personally, you know, I've known both of them. I could say I know Teofimo and his dad Junior a little more, so I would probably be cheering for him. But Shakur's been great to us too, man. Shakur, every time we see each other, he's great. You know, in Saudi when we were over there with Virgil, he never had a problem with us training at the same time with him. You know, he's a great dude, man, great person. So it's gonna be a hard pick, because between both of them, it's hard to pick a winner, honestly. Leaving the relationships aside, it's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult because they're both very talented. They both have their own advantages to pull off the win. But in my heart, I'm probably gonna lean towards Teofimo.
Do you remember those guys from the amateur days? Like, is there
100%.
is there any memories specifically about Shakur or Teofimo that come to mind? Like, kind of your first memory of like, oh shit, I gotta keep my eye on that kid.
With Shakur, always knew all the tournaments. That's the kid to wait, and you know, obviously the Olympics and all that. That's the kid that everybody wants to keep an eye. But you know, with Teofimo, I think the thing that I could probably remember is I had a young fighter in his weight class, Genaro Gomez. Genaro Gomez had a bright future. His discipline wasn't what we would have wanted him to, so that's why his career didn't take off the way he should have. But I remember when Teofimo signed with Top Rank, everybody at Top Rank and Teofimo's team managers at that time, that was the reason, or they all bragged about he got signed because he beat Genaro Gomez. So he had a win over Genaro Gomez, so they used that to get him that contract with Top Rank, because Genaro was a very promising name, very promising star. When Genaro signed with Golden Boy and he did his pro debut, god damn, Golden Boy, everybody, man, this is the future. This kid, one day we're gonna, but the kid's discipline didn't show up. So there's nothing we could do. But yeah, I remember that about Teofimo. That was the first thing everybody. he beat Genaro Gomez. He beat Gomez. Okay, well, let's take him to, and he got signed because of that.
That's crazy stuff. That's crazy. Like knowing these guys from
And
that
look at
young.
it now, and look, Gomez, career never took off because the discipline wasn't there.
Yeah. That's crazy. Boxing's littered with stories like that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Another huge fight, man, you got towards the end of the year, end of November. Bam, Jesse's in here. Unification against Puma, probably the most dangerous fight he can take in the division because Puma's been a champ for a while now. In Saudi Arabia, just man, what a great fight. What a great card, really, that whole card. The fact that Bam and Puma is on there is not like a main event. That's how you know how good the card is, man. What's Bam looking like?
Yeah, that card is unbelievable, man. What they're doing in Saudi with Turkey and putting up those fights. They're all main event fights, and he's putting all four in one night. It's unbelievable, But we have to do what's out there for the fighters. We got to promote them like that. We got the paydays are also unbelievable. So it's really good for boxing. That Turkey's doing stuff like this, but we got to get ready for a real fight because Puma's that fighter that's always been the underdog, always goes to different countries to fight, and he ends up with a win. He ends up pulling up the win. So we know he feels the same way about this fight. He knows everybody's favoring Bam to win, and he knows that he's the underdog. So he's done it many times. So he's training to do it again. Obviously I know what I have. I know that Bam is one of the most talented fighters in the world right now, and I think he's pound for pound top 5 for sure. So it's not going to be easy for Puma either, but I know they're going to do their best. I know they're going to do whatever it takes to try to pull it out. But Bam is just in a different level, man. Bam, when it comes to skills, and not just his skills, but his mind, he never underestimates nobody. He never takes a day off because he doesn't want to train or because he feels lazy. He comes to the gym, he shows up, he trains, he does everything he's told. He's always in great shape. So it's just gonna put up a great fight. Me personally, I believe the fight ends by knockout because it's that good of a fight. But I think it does end by knockout, and it's gonna put Bam in a different level. Bam doesn't like to choose the easiest fight out there. Bam wants to fight the best challenges out there. If there's not a challenge for him, he'd rather just not fight or rather move up in weight. This is the fight that needs to happen that people want to see, and that's why we're here. And I'm glad that Puma also did the same thing with Chino Maidana's team and everything. They all came to an agreement. That's the fight that needs to happen at 115, and hopefully, everything goes well. We win. I think, we try to go for unification. Hopefully,
the undisputed. There's only one more belt.
IBF.
And that Mexican dude's fighting the Japanese.
So the winner, hopefully, we're able to do it to a point where we have an undisputed champion at 115. But if not, if there's something that, I don't know, for whatever reason that's not possible, then I think 118 will be our next step.
Wow, really?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, hopefully Bam does it because I feel like he does want to be undisputed.
Yes.
And so, hopefully he gets an accomplished goal.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
But in boxing, never know. If it doesn't, then I think 118 will be our next step.
Robert, pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you.